word
Yes, ma'am.
also?
Of course.
Okay. And young man, I want you to especially pay attention because I heard some of the things that you said.
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to address them, and I want to let you know that help is available, but people have got to recognize the help when they see it. That's our major problem here. Okay. Okay, my name is Elaine Jackson. Are they leaving now?
That's why I'm telling you to go ahead.
Yeah, okay. My name is Elaine Jackson, okay?
Okay, everybody be quiet. Ms. Jackson.
Okay. I am a member of the board of directors here and have been for many years. That's neither here nor there. That's not the important part here. One of the important parts here is that men and women in organizations such as this have to learn how to work together and how to be equals. Okay? That is, this is not saying anything bad about this organization because Liz would kill me in the first place, and I don't think this is a bad organization. But I'm saying this as a woman who happens to be older, who very often comes into meetings, and it's almost like, well, oh, she's just a woman, or she's just an older woman, so we don't have to pay too much attention to what she has to say, because what does she know? What she knows is, as much as anybody in this room and more than some, is how to put this community together economically, how to put this community together politically, and how to teach these boys and girls how to read and write, because I'm a literacy expert and I tutor math.
We need that.
And have done this in this community for a number of years. My battle in this community has been to make a way to implement the programs that need to be implemented, because you've got an apathetic community and a board, half of whom are not worth 2 cents. And I said it. Anybody wants to take it back, take it back. Who are allowing themselves to be controlled by the professionals who work here, who make a couple of $1 million and take it out of the community and don't give a damn what happens to the community. That cycle in Rochdale Village has to be broken. But you can't get these people to break it because there are too many needy, greedy people who are always on the take for a couple of dollars and don't care about their community. Okay? Number one, you've got to recognize that everybody has talent. When you're talking about, so men and women have got to work as equals, okay? And they've got to stop warring together. Our number one thing here is literacy. If you cannot read and write and understand what you are reading and writing, you're not going to get a good job. You're not going to get a good education because you're not going to understand what's being said. Our number one thing with us also is that we need to look back at history. How many times I heard young people and older people, oh, I don't want to know about that. That's old school. That's yesterday's stuff. I want to know about now. Well, guess what, folks? The educational system that's in force right now in our elementary schools is thousands of years old. It came along with Aristotle. It came along with Plato. It came along even 400 years ago. Everything that they're doing in these schools is thousands of years old, okay? It's a Western system that was built a certain way. We need to be able to teach people how to read and write. I know how to teach people how to read and write because I've done it. All ages. I just got finished pulling an autistic kid through high school this summer. I tutored him. This boy went to an alternative school. This boy, high schooler mind you, graduated in June. He graduated at the top of his class. He was the only one in his class of children that have certain, little situations who received a New York City academic diploma. I tutored him in math, global studies, and American history. And he passed all 3 of his regions and got an academic diploma. And this is an autistic child, okay? So I know what I'm doing when it comes to that. But I'm always being opposed, for whatever reason. I don't come with any agenda. I don't need to have an agenda. I don't have to go to work if I don't want to, okay? I can sit back. I interact with all kinds of people of all different races and feel very comfortable doing it. So when I come and give my service, not because I'm looking to be glorified or to be, like, oh, wow, you're so wonderful. I don't need that. I come because that's my spirit and always has been. If it had not been, I would be out here. I wouldn't even be living in Rochdale Village. I would have become a millionaire a long time ago because I had the opportunities and I know how to do it. And I still know how to do it. So when I come and give my service, it is not because I want somebody to pat me on the back. I'm actually losing out on my personal opportunities. That's the sacrifice that I've made when I come and give my service. So when I come and give my service, I want to hear something strong. We have a literacy problem. Okay, you hear it every day in the news. You hear it on the newspaper, in the newspapers, on TV. The rates. That is because they are not teaching the children properly. For those of you who will come to the Fall Festival tomorrow, I'm going to have a literacy display. I can't be there all day, but I'm going to have a literacy display. It has to do with a lot of things. If you, like this guy, Paulo Freire, Brazilian guy, world-known educator. He died a few years ago. This man took adult, illiterate peasants in Brazil and taught them how to read. And he had a whole method. I will have some slides, PowerPoint slides that I did out there tomorrow describing this man's method. I understand this man's method. I and the community center director had a literacy program here this summer, and we had one last summer, trying to teach our kids how to read and how to understand what they're reading. We talked about To Kill a Mockingbird and other things, the literacy elements in To Kill a Mockingbird. John Paul Sartre's Being and Nothingness. This is a continuum from Paulo Freire, which is illiteracy, to Kill a Mockingbird, which is a mixed bag of literacy. It's people of different educational levels in that novel, for those of you who have read the novel, and you will understand immediately when you read the words who's educated how, who's educated, who's not educated. You can tell it from what they write and what they do. Then when you get to John Paul Sartre's thing, and that's the goal, from illiteracy to a learning transition phase that's expressed in To Kill a Mockingbird, to John Paul Sartre, which is about as dense as you. If you can read and understand Sartre, you have arrived. Because this is dense, it is difficult, and that is the goal not only for our children, but for the adults in the community. Because the adults have got to learn how to read and write too. Who's going to help these kids with their homework when they come home? Who's going to supplement their curriculum when the school is not giving them a curriculum? The schools are not giving our children a rigorous enough curriculum. And it starts with UPK. Now that's where you need to start, because they've got these kids there, oh, well, you learn through play, oh, you learn with your blocks, and there's a place for that, and you learn with this and that. That's not really giving these kids the skills they need to hold their own. And I am not bragging about myself, but a lot of the issues, I came from a family where I didn't grow up having these issues. Okay, and three questions, and then I will be quiet. One of the questions is, how come people of my generation, and I grew up in Brooklyn, in Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn, how come everybody that I grew up with, we graduated from the 8th grade, went on to high school and graduated from high school? And they had the Chaplins and the Quintos in Brooklyn at that time, but they kept their place and everybody else kept their place. They weren't running amok all over the neighborhood trying to destroy it. They had their little battles, and that was it. Okay, so how come everybody graduated from high school in my time, which was well before the time of many of you in this room? Okay, and how come some of them, even though there was more discrimination and segregation than there is now, how come they went out and found jobs anyway? Decent jobs. There are about 3 or 4 people who live in this community now that I know because we went to elementary school together. And they did very well. They're retired. They have grandchildren. They did well when there was more discrimination and less opportunity than there is now. And how come a lot of these people went on to college? Kid that I grew up with, he went to Brooklyn Tech, and then he went to Annapolis Naval Academy, and he graduated and became an engineer and traveled all over Europe. How come? Bed-Stuy, all black neighborhood. Come on, folks. There's something that we have done wrong along the way, and you hear about the lost generation. Somehow after that civil rights movement, which was a good thing, and in a way it was a bad thing, because people started moving out of the neighborhood, they weren't cohesive. I'm not going to go into it, just like Bob Law said. It's a long story. I'm not going into it now, but I know the story.